This is Women's Leadership Success, episode number 147. What if I told you the very thing threatening women's jobs could actually be our greatest leadership advantage? Here's the sobering reality. Women are nearly 3 times more likely than men to have their jobs taken over by AI. But here's the plot twist. The skills that make us uniquely human are exactly what organizations desperately need as they navigate this new AI transformation. I'm Sabrina Brahm, and today I'm sitting down with thought leader Faisal Hoque, author of the groundbreaking book Transcend. Faisal poses a question that stopped me in my tracks. What makes us uniquely human? In our conversation, he reveals why our complexity, our flaws, even our contradictions, might be the secret weapons that separate extraordinary leaders from everyone else. We'll explore why authenticity isn't just a nice-to-have anymore. It's your competitive advantage in a world where AI can now mimic empathy, write your emails, and even simulate love. But here's what's really got me thinking. Are we outsourcing our humanity without even realizing it? And if so, how do we take it back? If you're a leader who's tired of feeling like you're playing catch-up with technology, this conversation will completely shift how you think about your role in the AI revolution. Let's dive in.
Welcome to Women's Leadership Podcast, showing you how to influence people, improve your performance, and advance your career. Brought to you by women's leadership and career expert Sabrina Brahm and womensleadershipsuccess.com. Here's your chance to meet women trendsetters leading the way to success, accomplishment, and balance in business and life. No matter if you're a manager, CEO, or entrepreneur, join Sabrina for coaching and no-nonsense advice to improve your career and bottom line.
Faisal, in your book, Transcend, you pose a powerful question. What makes us uniquely human?
Yeah, isn't that the question of the day, right? Because, we are blurring what's real and unreal. You were just mentioning the fact that you don't like phony background. That's a perfect example of that, because we are, humanity is complex, and what makes us human is our flaws and complexities. So when you kind of augment it, or when you kind of portray it with enhanced, call it whatever, I'll use intelligence since we're talking about artificial intelligence, we have to question what's real and what's not real and what's human. But I think what makes us human is our complexity, the complexity of freedom, complexity of purpose, complexity of survival, complexity of, how we treat each other, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, our uniqueness.
Our uniqueness, for sure. Authenticity is a big part of it.
Authenticity, definitely. How should this uniqueness shape the way we approach artificial intelligence?
Look, I think whether we like it or not, we have entered this hybrid world whereby we have to not just live with human beings, but we have to live with human beings that are, enabled by artificial intelligence. And sometimes we are living with artificial intelligence itself, in the sense that we now have, companion workforce, interaction, even therapy with AI, right? We are also producing creative and mundane output with AI. So I think it's a hybrid world where artificial intelligence and human intelligence is blending. And I think when I started writing the book, we were just talking about, well, it's going to be a tool, and it's going to be this, and it's going to be that. And within the last 4 months, the narrative has completely changed already, right? Because of the utilization that we're seeing. And by the way, the history of artificial intelligence is thousands of years old, which we'll get into it as you've seen kind of what we kind of outline in Transcend. So it's complicated. It's frightening and it's exciting at the same time.
Well, I love your book.
Thank you.
It was one of the most thought-provoking books I've read, even of yours. It took me a long time to kind of go through it and grapple with it. And I sent you questions that I was going to ask you, but I kept thinking about it. And somebody said something to me the other day. They said, what we need to do is change our identity to deal more effectively with AI. And I started thinking about the philosopher Gurdjieff, the Russian philosopher, and he said that you go along life and you hit a shock point, and then the paths diverge and you can't be on the same path anymore. And it feels like we're at one of those points, like when the printing press was developed, when, we went from the horse and buggy to the car, but, just a profound change. And what I notice, and you've been doing all these interviews, so you can tell me if this is correct or where I am on this, but it seems like there's a way people don't want to grapple with it. It's like, well, I'm using Claude or I'm using ChatGPT or I do this, but they don't want to grapple with what the meaning of this is and how to begin to, how do we prepare ourselves for this change that we're already in? I feel like you are the thought leader on this, that nobody's telling us, how do we think about this? How do I begin to develop myself so that I utilize AI and also understand what I'm dealing with?
I think at far more fundamental level, I think we have to learn how do we deal with each other, not how do we deal with AI, because once we figure out what it means to deal with each other, we will have utilization of technology that for the first time in human history has a capability to mimic, many of our good qualities and bad qualities, utilization of synthetic intelligence, right? Mm-hmm. So the reason I say we have to deal with, learn how to deal with how do we interact with each other, because it's gonna exponentially mirror our good side and our bad side. So if we are empathetic and we kind of deal with our interaction with empathy, we have lots of opportunity to use artificial intelligence, to use that in part of our innovation, value creation, daily interaction, etc. If we want to use that, in a bad way, and we want to tie into, if we kind of fall back on our flawed human side, it will exploit it. The over-talked example of that Coldplay, meme that's going around, you can think about, okay, here's two flawed human beings, but you can also think about, what does it tell about us that we're getting such a kick out of it and sharing it for our own jolly and not even thinking about there's actually a copyright violation of other people's images, right? So there's a lot to think about, in terms of our workplace, in terms of our how we live in a society, and what are the great possibilities we have with this technology, or do we get into a self-destruction mode? As you know, people like Jeffrey Hinton and a lot of other 1,000 times smarter people than me have been talking about that if we don't, people who actually worked on, setting up the theories and the foundational capabilities of AI has been sending a lot of warning signs, right? But at the same time, look, I have a cancer surviving son, as you know from my previous conversation with you. I'm excited about what we can do with AI to come up with predictive models and other things that will help us with curing complex diseases and, explore a market opportunity that are serving underserved community, et cetera, right? So but to your point, it's a fundamental shift. It's one of those inflection points whereby what will happen to humanity in next 3, 5, 10, 15 years, or 30 years or 50 years from now, it is a pivotal point. There's no doubt about it.
Also want to mention that your book, Connectivity.
Everything Connects, yes.
Everything Connects, I'm sorry. Everything Connects is one of the best leadership books I've ever read and gives a lot of good information about how we can work better together. I highly recommend it. I'll put it in the show notes because it's a really great book. So how do we do this? I got to back up because I don't know the meme. So what's the meme that you're talking about?
It's that Coldplay, the Coldplay Thunderdome thing about two people having an affair and caught on the tape. You've seen this. This is last week's story about a CEO and head of HR having an affair. But yes, I'm not even going whether that's right, wrong, or I'm just talking about human tendency of promoting it because algorithm is also promoting it, and
right.
So I'm talking about that element of it.
Right. So, what do we do? How do we begin to embrace this in a way? I'm thinking there's so many people that they're almost adverse to finding anything out. Yeah,
look, what we do is, as I have been writing, pretty ferociously, not just the book, I've probably written about, 30 plus articles since the book, or more than that.
They're all really good because I see them, you post the links on LinkedIn, and I read those articles, and they're really, really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And, I think if you want to understand AI, you have to understand, or humanity where it is right now, you have to understand that it's really we are at a hybrid convergence of many different things in the sense that there is technology, obviously, which is obviously is enabling us and propelling us to the next level. But there's also this element of philosophy and business model and humanity that's all intersecting, right? And you can't think about where we're going without bringing elements of all of this in one place. So, for example, philosophy teaches us the ethics of all of it. What's ethical, the data, privacy, the law, all of it is driven by philosophical fundamentals. So as you know, in Transcend, we drew upon both Western philosophy and Eastern philosophy, kind of create that foundational element of every person's thinking level should be around philosophy that ties into ethics. And ethic is not just the legislative laws and organizational governance, but it's also what we do at an individual level, right? Next, the business model. Every business and organization now has a responsibility in terms of how they create products, supports its customer base, reaches out to the market, collects the data, respect privacy of the users and the customer base they're servicing. And then there is this whole, and how they're making money, for themselves, but also protecting the global society and capital system as a whole. And then you have government, which obviously has a pretty in-depth role of legislation and infrastructure and protecting the citizens from all kind of bad things that are at an individual level, geopolitical level, and at a national level, right? So to understand where you're going, you really have to start thinking about all of those elements. I don't think you can no longer, kind of segregate that. And we're very interested in future work, and you're already seeing the impact of technology in terms of job loss, new role creation, having hybrid organization that lives off, human resource, but also digital resources, right? So all of these are very complicated. And when we started writing the book, we kind of looked at this, and we kind of also looked at, you talk about printing press, so we obviously talked about that. We talked about the Industrial Revolution and where we are with this set of technology. It's we kind of started to think about that. We really can't talk about a particular technology of the day, because what we have to really learn is the thinking system, and how do we explore opportunity, but also how do we protect ourselves with series of governance models. So we introduced this open idea of open and care framework, which kind of allows us to kind of explore different opportunities, but also how do you govern? How do you create guardrails? How do we create legislation and the governance structure at an individual and organizational and government level?
Quick question. Are you secretly crushing it at work, but still watching less qualified people leapfrog over you? Oof, been there. And here's the truth. Getting promoted isn't just about doing great work. It's about being seen as leadership material. That's why I've created the 90-day Career Breakthrough Session, a free strategy call to uncover what's holding you back and build a plan to fast-track your next big move. It's fun, it's focused, and yes, it actually works. My clients have landed VP titles, doubled their salaries, and stopped feeling invisible in meetings. Ready to get unstuck? Book your session now at sabrinabrahm.com/advancement before another Steve gets the job you deserve. In our second segment, we'll talk some more about the open-end care system. So how do we start prioritizing and cultivating the human qualities that matter the most in an AI-influenced future?
I think it starts with yourself, because, we're all using technology at an individual level in various ways, whether that's you're using, your GPS, or whether you're buying something on Amazon, or the news you're consuming, or now we got into this doom scrolling mode of we scroll these things on a non-stop basis. So we are using technology at a level, as an individual and a consumer like never before, right? Everything we do is enabled by technology. So it starts with yourself. You have to prioritize your thinking process, and you have to protect your authenticity, the way you live and the way you work and the way you interact. So what does that mean? So, for example, the new, the information you're consuming, I'm not talking about news, anything, right? The information you're consuming, the way you are and then the way you're taking that information and influencing yourself with whatever it is. And as a result, how you're interacting with others, that's where it begins, right? So let's say you want to write an email and you're using your ChatGPT or whatever, the large language model, to write it, and you're not even thinking twice about it. This is beginning of outsourcing your work life. Then you can say, okay, well, if I'm going to, use more and more tools, and I'm a songwriter, so I'm using AI to write a song, or do I use AI to find out the genre that exists to influence my thinking? There's a good way to use it and bad way to use it. As a writer, I'm using tons of research tools, but I go out of my way not to influence my thinking based on whatever is out there and create original work. Obviously, I'm using citation and other people's works to make my point, but I force myself to kind of keep my authenticity and my tone and my voice, and I've gotten hypersensitive about it. Because it creeps into you, right? So it starts with you, and I think it starts with by trying to forge a authentic path and authentic thought process and not outsourcing your agencies to these things. Obviously, you want to use this so that you can be more productive and more, informed and whatever. But if you are starting to outsource your agency, then you're going to start losing your humanity.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. And I post every day on LinkedIn, and it certainly would be faster to just let AI do it for me. But I force myself to do that. But I do use it to edit. So a lot of times it'll catch something.
Yeah.
But I like that. What are the things that AI can't replace or replicate? What are the things about us as humans?
Well, I think you have to assume that these things are going to get better and better and better in all aspects of mimicking humanity. So what I mean by that, if you look at 36 months ago or 48 months ago, we barely knew the generative AI element of it. Some of us who worked in the field, obviously, who have been working with predictive models and decision-making, decision support, intelligence of all kinds. But the generative AI has created this human language and capability to mimic a lot of the human elements, and it will only get better. So what does that mean? So, 36, 48 months ago, maybe AI cannot generate the empathy that we have. Well, it can now, right? Because you can design large language models and other kind of models or small language models that can mimic human empathy. We argued that, maybe AI cannot think uniquely, and it's not as it's basically creating models based on other ideas, so it's not really that original. Well, no, sorry, it can do that now. All of this is going to get better and better, and you already hear about things like the general intelligence, artificial general intelligence, or AGI. I don't think we're there yet, but I don't think we're too far away from it either, right? So give it 5-10 years. In many ways, it's going to be better. And by the way, if you think of logically, how can it not? If you have combined, many different thoughts and ideas in one place, and it's creating thoughts and ideas from that collective knowledge. obviously what you know as one person or what I know as one person versus like thousands of us is better because it has got the database of thousands of us. So if you say, what can we do better? I don't think we can say we can do anything better. I think what we can do is how can we use this to make ourselves better? It's like, can I make a better version of Sabrina, or can I have better version of Faisal? That's what we can strive for. I don't think we can say, what can we do better than AI? I don't think you can do anything better than AI. It will think faster. It will access data faster. It will it will make things to a point of perfection that where human can compete against these AI agents, right? So what we have to think about is that can we use these agents? I'm using a cumulative term of agent to do what we do better. Can I write something better with AI versus if I couldn't write it by myself? Can I write a better song? Can I create a better organization? And then you can get into this very deep conversation about what does it do to capitalism and economy, because if many jobs are replaced, who buys the stuff that we create? Where does the income come from, right? And you're already seeing this year alone, I think the U.S. economy has reduced by 90,000 jobs or more than that, or maybe it's 900,000 jobs in different tech companies that has been taken over by AI. So the question is, what happens to the buying power of those people? So these are extremely complicated questions, and I don't have answers to them. All I do is I can think about it, I can ask the questions, and I can try to look at it in a philosophical lens that is it the right thing to do? And the way you can look at that is that, well, if it's not serving humanity, then what good is it? And what is humanity? Well, humanity is the flesh and blood of you and I, right? So, if it's not serving collective us, then what good is it?
Yeah, we're going to go into that more in our second interview. But I do want to point out that love is something that AI isn't capable of. And I consider you a friend. And the way I feel about you, I don't think can be replicated by artificial intelligence. I think that's...
Well, I used to think that, and I still think that, but I'm doubting that because, the reason I'm saying that, you're already seeing a whole lot of people's dependency on AI that actually mimics compassion and empathy and love. It may not be real, but you are more and more prefer that because, when you have humans, you have contradictions, right? And you have conflicts and you have disagreements, right? And AI, can mimic, so it doesn't have that. And human beings are very much attached where there's lesser conflicts, right? We want peace and without conflict, you don't learn, but without that conflict is easier to love and easier to deal with, right? So you're seeing a huge number of, a uptake on relationship dependency on different kind of AI agent. As you noticed, I've been writing for Psychology Today, and a huge number of neuroscientists and psychologists or my fellow contributor in Psychology Today has been writing about, I'm not a psychologist, but has been writing about this topic of, okay, well, are we going to get replaced by AI agents that now also can love? Define love however you want to define love.
Well, that's a scary way to end this part of the conversation. Where can our audience learn more about you, your work, and your book?
You can go to my website, FaisalHoque.com. You can buy my books from wherever books are sold, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, etc., Google, etc. And you can buy them in any form, meaning, hard copy, ebook, or audiobooks. And all the books are for charity, as you know. They go to cancer research. So if you're buying a book, you'll be donating to charity as well. And I post daily on LinkedIn. That's kind of my social media platform, also, although I post on X, but mostly on LinkedIn. And then you can find me in various publications like Fast Company and Psychology Today, and at IMD's publication or Harvard Business Review and other places.
Right. And LinkedIn, usually you're listing where those articles are, so that's the place to do it. Okay, if you found this conversation inspiring, thought-provoking, I would say it's thought-provoking for sure, be sure and listen to part 2, where we will discuss from overwhelmed to empowered, how to work with AI and not against it. Thanks again. See you later.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning in. If you found value today, please subscribe and leave a review to help other leaders discover these insights. For weekly advancement strategies, subscribe to the Missing Link Leadership Link, my 5-minute newsletter delivering tactics top executives use to increase visibility and command respect in meetings. Find it at sabrinabrahm.com/missing leadership link. Would you like to advance your career faster? Coaching with me will help. Contact me at sabrinabrahm.com about coaching or joining my exclusive Impact Executive Leadership Mastermind. Follow me on LinkedIn for daily leadership tips. Just search Sabrina Brahm Executive Leadership Coach. Until next time, keep elevating your presence and advancing your career.
Thank you for joining your host, Sabrina Brahm, on another Women's Leadership Podcast. If you have questions or comments, you can email her at sabrina@sabrinabrahm.com. Since 1989, Sabrina and her team have helped hundreds of women managers, business leaders, and entrepreneurs with valuable trainings, articles, books, and executive coaching. For additional tips, interviews, and free access to Great Leaders Today mini course, visit www.womensleadershipsuccess.com.